A once occult-themed room in which a cosmogram was created, set on fire at the exact spot of the video's creation, as though Baphomet's flame had been dangerously conjured into the real. It was June 2017. The video itself was an occult commemoration of the 2017 US presidential selection result. 3 days after my fire, the Grenfell tragedy happened in London. Someone I knew suggested I had caused all this myself, with my mind. But this was absurd. One can create anything with one's mind, without it necessarily being a true reflection of the real. The Trump-fire connection was loose at best, but the occult significance had not escaped me. The Grenfell tragedy had happened on the new scapegoat's first presidential birthday. During the 2016 selection, a certain planet began to change, and nobody knew why, but clues were being unearthed. There was a body of numerology around Trump's selection year. The inauguration could be converted into another date with a curious correlation. The year of this date had a strange parallel to the exact age of the new president. And a few months later, on Trump's first presidential birthday, he would turn 71, a mirror number, each individual digit adding up to 8, as well as each full number adding up to 88, with Trump's gematria also chiming in. There was another correlation, that of a scapegoat, the new world leader being perhaps the ultimate scapegoat for the Synchronicle Model. And throughout the next few years, bizarro headlines and articles would flood the mainstream. When I first uploaded the Synchronicle, I had intended to create a bit of a series. Back then, I knew that when 2019 ticked over into 20, the astrological configurations would be paramount. The great mutation of Jupiter and Saturn on the 0 degree of Aquarius seemed hugely significant looking forward. But in the days after the fire, my life was turned upside down. I lost everything and spent many months in a tiny room waiting for the damage to be repaired. Waiting and waiting. I would occasionally remember the Synchronicle Model, and as absurd as it may seem, I wondered if I had indeed been responsible. Was it the sun of Saturn's magic square chiming in with the latest scapegoat number in the sequence? There were many correlations that I thought of, but in the end, how could I truly know if I had played with occult fire? I had to believe it was just an accident. The evolution slowed to a close, then a refocus on the visibly real only. I didn't upload anything for over 3 years, but when 2020 came around, and the great mutation above was mirrored below, I took another look. The Synchronicle Model had begun to come to life in a sky-ground configuration too apparent to ignore. I dusted the smoke and ashes off the cosmogram and charted what seemed like scripted skies. There are other videos on this channel that explore this theme more closely. But back then, on the grand chessboard, a new election saw him deselected, but he left behind the cure in a cube, and the new scapegoat picked it up in rare bipartisan agreement. Elsewhere, in the background, he would rise again. A new push for a second term. From his last full day in office until his first full day back in the race, a number went unnoticed. A resurrection had begun. The headlines amazingly reflecting bizarro, savior-themed artwork as the scapegoat would return, with the hope to be anointed once again on the 20th of January. The first ever 20th of January inauguration would be held in 1937. Will Trump 88 be anointed once again, 88 years later? There are, of course, those, the detractors, who would say that 88 stands for something else entirely. But even so, they must surely admit it is all a little weird. And if Trump really is the ultimate scapegoat, just who is he a scapegoat for?